Donald Trump is going down, one way or another. Even if he isn't impeached, there are other ways of removing him from office. It's news time! Lemony. And apologies in advance for the hell voice. Reading dozens of articles about Trump in quick succession has made me physically ill, it seems. We're just gonna have to get through this together. If you've been paying attention to the news, which is always something I would recommend, you might know that the Trump presidency is reaching its end. Mueller's investigation is handing out indictments, and we can see the shape of the bear trap that's been set up for Trump. But in the midst of this, there's been another objection made, that no matter what happens, Trump isn't leaving. I first heard this line of thought from Peter Coffin, whose name you're going to be hearing a lot on this channel. Here's a quote from his 50-second Last Nightly video, which is called "Donald Trump Jr. was told an email of Russian effort to aid campaign." Now, whether or not this was some kind of massive collusion to get Donald Trump installed as President of the United States, making this a satellite nation, like Keith Olbermann says, of the Russian Federation, or whether it's something that isn't actually covered in our laws in any way, regardless of the outcome of this information, regardless of how we proceed with this information, something I have said many times, and I'm going to say many more times, is the Republicans are not going to impeach Donald Trump. That's from 4 minutes and 7 seconds to 4 minutes and 37 seconds. There's also this essay published by Vox, and that was the inception of this video. I'm also going to be reading it verbatim. Donald Trump has the power to hold on to the presidency as long as elected Republicans, cowed by the conservative base, support him. And that is true almost regardless of what he's done or what's proven by Mueller. As long as he has that power, he will exercise it. That's what recent history seems to show. Democrats do not currently have the numbers to stop him. They can't do it without some help from Republicans, and Republicans seem incapable not only of acting on what Mueller knows, but of even coming to know it. There are other articles, other tweets, but you can find those on your own. This is the basis of what I want to discuss. Trump isn't being impeached. We're going to be stuck with him for 3 more years. Woe be to the children of Earth. Woe be to mankind. And I don't agree with that. Mueller's investigation seems to be going full steam ahead, but impeachment isn't the only way to remove Donald Trump from office. There are at least 2 more ways it could be done. The first, and I feel less likely way Trump is going to be removed from office, is the 25th Amendment. This has evidently been a major concern for people on Trump's team for some time. Steve Bannon told Trump outright that the greatest threat to his presidency wasn't impeachment, but the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment, for those of you who don't know, is the amendment that establishes a clear line of succession for the U.S. presidency. First the Vice President, then the Speaker of the House, then the Secretary of State, all the way down to the Secretary of Homeland Security. But it also establishes that if Trump's cabinet or Congress decides that Trump isn't able to perform his duties as the President of the United States, they can make Mike Pence the acting president for up to 21 days. Proving Trump is not able to fulfill the duties of his office would not be difficult. Just by virtue of Donald Trump not being able to fill over 100 vacant positions in his office, Trump literally being unable to do the duties of his office, you could say that he's not able to perform the duties of his office. And that's just the most obvious answer I could think of off the top of my head. I'm sure that the good people of Trump's cabinet, who interact with him every day and are hopefully much more intelligent than I am, could find a much better justification for throwing him out. Now, there are some hiccups in this process. First, you need a 2/3 vote in the House and the Senate to keep Trump out of office for more than the initial 21 days. Also, as this Business Insider article points out, Trump could just fire his cabinet before that happens. There's no mechanism in place to keep him from doing that. So not only do you have the same problem as with impeachment, that problem being that the GOP doesn't want to deal with the humiliation of having their golden boy impeached. Golden boy. But with the added hiccup that it can be legally preemptive, made functionally impossible by removing the mechanism by which it would be done. And for those reasons, and the steam gained in the Mueller investigation, I feel like this would be less likely than a straight impeachment. There are people in the GOP who want Trump gone. The Freedom Caucus, for example, wants him gone. Something you know because of how difficult they've been about doing any of the things that he wants done. That's not to say that the Freedom Caucus is good. They're remnants of the Tea Party. If anything, they're worse than Trump. But they're 1/6 of the elected Republicans in Washington, and they want him gone. People who've been in the GOP for decades and hate the subversion and obliteration of norms want Trump gone. There are Republicans who are refusing to run for office because Trump has normalized a hateful, petty politico that they refuse to participate in. Those people will help vote Trump out of office if it comes to that. What they won't do is vote on a temporary measure, and the 25th Amendment sure seems like a temporary measure to me. The second, and I feel more likely way Trump is going to be removed from office, is resignation. No, I'm not joking. Something people don't seem to understand or remember. Nixon, who was quite famously impeached, was only partially impeached. He resigned before the process could be completed and he could be forcibly booted out of office. And he admitted to his own guilt. Something else that people don't seem to understand is that accepting a pardon means that you've admitted to your own guilt. And President Ford did pardon Nixon, and Nixon did accept that pardon. Right now we have some idea how wide the scope of Mueller's investigation is, and we can be pretty sure that it's big enough to trap Trump. At some point, someone is going to tell Trump that the only way out is to abandon ship. And after that person has been indicted, Trump is going to fold. Or that's what I see as being the most likely series of events, anyway. And make no mistake, this investigation is going to be a doozy. Mueller wasn't just tasked with bringing down Trump, he was tasked with investigating anyone who could have colluded with Russia. The way that's looking means that no one who worked with Trump on the campaign is safe from those charges. Pence isn't going to get to lynch all the LGBT folks. Sessions isn't going to get to lynch all the blacks, the Mexicans, and the LGBT folks, although I think that Sessions has already been flipped. Bannon isn't safe. Kushner isn't safe. I'm not even sure Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell are safe from this. What, do you believe they didn't know about this? That they didn't try to sweep it under the rug? Nixon did less than that, and he was forced out of office. And hey, here's a part I trust for you. Trump is a trendsetter, right? He leads, people follow. So Trump says that he wants Robert Mueller to stop his investigation, or at least focus on something else. And guess what? Power-hungry Republicans are starting to do the same thing. And I know I already said this, but Nixon got impeached for less than that. So when the jaws close on Trump, it's going to be very out of fashion to have followed his lead. Which means that all the people left are going to go after those people like it's out of fashion. Huh? It's the demon voice, isn't it? 14 hells. Point being, that if Mueller plays his cards right, he could end up sweeping the fascists completely out of power, at least as far as the government is concerned. And then, maybe, we can get around to fixing some shit. Thanks for watching. Sorry about the delay in getting this out. I've actually been fairly ill. I couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. Do not read more than 45 articles about Donald Trump in a row. It will not do you good. I have a Twitter. You can get in touch with me on Twitter if you want to talk about any of the things that I've mentioned here further. Or, better, you could, because Twitter is so 140 characters, I have a Curious Cat. And you can ask me questions there and I can answer them for you. Or, alternatively, you could just spam Donald Trump articles at me and I could just die. I'm teetering on the edge here. I am very ill.